The Glock 19 sits in the can't go wrong slot, and that's exactly why it pisses me off. Recently, outdoor line, wind kicking dust across the bays, timer going off like an alarm you can't shut up. I ran my 19 first, cold draw, no warm-up, mixed ammo I didn't trust. It did what it always does, ran. But my hits looked like I was negotiating with the trigger, and my splits slowed down every time my grip got even a little sloppy. From concealment on the clock, in a dirty, boring, real setup. Does it beat a Glock 19 without me working around it? Because reliable isn't the bar. The bar is, does it keep me fast and honest when I'm distracted and tired and my shirt fights me? These are Glock killers, not alternatives. One of them made me bench the 19 mid-session like it offended me. Timer beeped and my Glock 19 gave me that dead, familiar feeling, like I already knew what the run looked like before the sights even settled. Dust in the air, sweat on my hands, shirt grabbing the grip on the draw. I sent it anyway. Hits landed, but they landed with negotiation. Little steering corrections. Little come on pressure on the trigger. The kind of stuff you don't admit out loud because the gun technically ran. Early this year, I kept hearing people compare the SAR-9 Gen 3 to a 19, and I treated it like internet noise. Then a shop outside town slid one across the counter, and it felt wrong immediately. Wrong because it felt serious for $400 to $550. I wanted it to beat junk. I wanted the Glock to stay king without a fight. Back on the line, I ran the same drill again. Same target, same distance, same mixed ammo. Glock first, SAR-9 second. On the SAR-9, my first shot broke sooner, my dot didn't swim, and the timer showed it. My clean run came from the cheap clone. That's when the Glock lost. Not in reliability, Glock lost in effort. It asked more from me for the same honesty. That's the rot in the Glock 19 obsession. People keep choosing it because it's safe to recommend, not because it's winning. Flaw, the SAR-9 didn't come with Glock World behind it. Parts. Support. That question stayed open, and I still caught myself reaching for the 19 afterward, like habit was the real brand. 2 weeks ago at a truck stop outside Austin, I was walking back to my truck when this guy came out of nowhere and got way too close, hands tucked in his hoodie. My heart jumped. I went for the Walther PDP Compact on my hip. The draw felt natural, almost automatic. The gun came up clean, and I had a solid sight picture fast, even with the adrenaline. The guy froze, hands up, and backed away slow without saying shit. But in that same second, I kept thinking about my old Glock 19. How much slower and clunkier the draw would have felt. How I would have been fighting that blocky grip and trying to find the sights while everything was going sideways. That moment hit different. I stood there watching him leave, the PDP still in my hand, and it really sank in. The Glock 19 I carried for years would have left me a half step behind, right when it mattered most. The PDP didn't just feel better. It gave me confidence when my brain was screaming. I didn't have to think about it. It was just there. Now, every time I look at my old Glock, it feels off, like I was settling for something that cost me in the moments that actually count. I didn't want another gun to make me question my old one this hard, but here we are. The next gun on this list made it even worse. I was running drills on a hot afternoon when it finally broke me. I had the HKV P9 on my belt and my old Glock 19 sitting on the bench. Same target, same distance, same strings. I ran them back to back like I had 100 times before. With the VP9, the gun just stayed flat. Recoil was soft. I was making tight splits and fast transitions without thinking. Then I switched to the Glock 19 for the next set. That's when it happened. On the first reload, the blocky grip felt huge in my hand. The trigger felt mushy. The gun flipped more than I remembered. One string went low and left. I stood there staring at the target, sweat burning my eyes, feeling stupid for how long I'd been okay with that. The VP9 didn't just feel better. It made the Glock 19 feel like a liability I'd been dragging around for years. I I've carried that Glock through a lot of days, thinking it was the safe choice. But after that range session, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd been lying to myself every time I holstered it. Now, every time I look at it, I feel this knot in my stomach. I'm not sure what to do with it anymore. Instructor slid behind me and said it like he was bored. Run it again. And stop steering the gun. I had my Glock 19 out because that's what everyone calls the safe answer. The drill wasn't fancy. Awkward start, move, reload, when your brain already felt late. Normal classwork. The kind that exposes what you actually do when you don't get a warm-up and you can't hide behind slow fire. First rep went up, and my target told on me. Hits were there, but they looked negotiated. Tiny corrections, a little pause before the break. That subtle wrist shove I pretended was control. Instructor didn't yell, he just pointed. You're managing the gun. You call that skill because you've done it 1,000 times. So I swapped to the CZP-10C because I got tired of performing. Next rep, my hands went quiet. No extra steering, no ritual. Break happened when it should. Sights came back like they belonged there, and the instructor finally stopped talking. And because he didn't need to. And that's why the P10C sits this high. It doesn't reward compensation. And the last gun on this list, that one didn't just beat what I carried. It made default feel stupid. Seatbelt clicked, and the gun jammed into my ribs the same way it always did. That was the whole issue. Not a failure, not a jam. Just that constant little reminder that I carried the Glock 19 because it was the default answer, not because it fit my life. That morning was errands, in and out of the truck, bending, reaching, leaning over a cart, twisting to grab something off a bottom shelf. Every time I moved, the Glock made itself part of the conversation. Tiny adjustments, shirt tug, holster shift, that dumb little check people do in glass reflections like they're trying not to look guilty. Back at the house, I opened the safe, and my hand went right past the Glock and landed on the Springfield Armory Echelon 4.0C. No pep talk. No, today I'm testing. It just went on my belt like it belonged there. The grip didn't fight my shirt. The slide didn't feel like a brick corner under a seatbelt. When I sat, it stayed put. When I stood, it didn't print like a confession. It carried like a gun that was built after people admitted they actually move around all day. That's what bothered me. It didn't win. It replaced the habit. And once that happens, the Glock 19 starts looking less like a standard and more like a routine. Then the ugly one showed up after that, the Beretta X4 Storm, and it made the whole argument weirder. Recently, somebody shoved a Beretta PX4 Storm into my hand like a spare tire. Not a, hey, try this, not a review moment. More like, shut up and finish the drill. We were mid-session, and one of the loudest guys on the line had his serious pistol out. The kind of gun people name drop like it's a personality. He'd been talking Glock 19 the whole morning too. How nothing mattered, how everything else was cope. Then his gun started doing that ugly thing nobody wants to say out loud. Not a big cinematic failure, just enough weird hesitation and a stoppage that made him pause and look around like the range might blame him for it. Nobody laughed. That's the part people don't get. When a gun embarrasses a man in public, the room goes quiet. He cleared it, tried to act casual, and his buddy just reached into a bag and slid me the PX4. Run this. I expected clunky, old, weird rotating barrel nonsense. I loaded it, racked it, and it just erased the drama. Smooth recoil, boring cycle, plates ringing like it didn't care what anybody believed in. The guy with the fancy pistol didn't say a word after that. He just stared at the P4 like it exposed something personal. That's why it's here. Not because it's pretty, because it walked into a room full of Glock talk and premium talk and made all of it sound like noise. And that leaves a nasty question. If the ugly backup gun stayed calm when the loud safe picks didn't, what exactly are people paying for? If you're still defending the Glock 19 like it's family, you're already trapped. This list wasn't what I like. It was what beat it when it counted. Draws that didn't snag. Recoil that didn't punish a lazy grip. Triggers that didn't make me hesitate. Accuracy that didn't require a pep talk. And yeah, the 19 still runs. That's not the point. The point is, I watched myself keep reaching for it out of habit, not because it was winning. It's a gross feeling when you notice it. So drop the story you don't like telling the moment you realize your Glock wasn't special, just familiar, or the moment you tried to replace it and crawled back. I'm Steve, and I don't trust default answers anymore.